Hello there! It's another edition of Tech Trends, the program that takes you on a ride in 25 minutes to seek out innovation and creativity that are unique to Africa. On the program this week, we focus on artificial intelligence. First, U.S. Department of State and Nigeria's Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy partnered to host the Global Inclusivity and AI Africa Conference. Also, I talked to Mayowa Ijisheson, Advisory Board Member of Insight Factory, on ensuring AI solutions are relevant to Africa. We'll give you more in just a moment. Do stay with us. This is Tech Trends, and I'm Olayemi Otunuga. Artificial intelligence is just a new tool, one that can be used for good and for bad purposes, and one that comes with new dangers and downsides as well. We know already that although machine learning has huge potential, data sets with ingrained biases will produce biased results. Garbage in, garbage out. As artificial intelligence continues to evolve, it's quite crucial that its adoption and development are guided by principles that prioritize public safety and inclusivity. That was part of the focus of the Global Inclusivity and AI Africa Conference, which is to ensure that AI's development and use are safe, fair, and beneficial for all.
I would go ahead and introduce the Nigerian counterpart.
The Global Inclusivity and AI Africa Conference is a joint event co-hosted by the U.S. Department of State and Nigeria's Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy.
I'd like to congratulate.
With artificial intelligence at the forefront of discussions, the mission of this conference is to explore the future of AI in Africa and how the U.S. and African nations can work together to create a more inclusive digital world. The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, while emphasizing the importance of inclusivity in artificial intelligence, announces the launch of an AI fund for startups created in partnership with Google.
AI offers countries like ours the chance to leapfrog traditional development challenges and unlock new opportunities for growth. However, for us to truly harness artificial intelligence for our collective benefit, we must be deliberate and collaborative in our approach. We must ensure that our digital transformation journey is inclusive, equitable, and human-focused. As part of our further investment in the development of AI and its application, I am very glad to announce the launch of the AI Fund in collaboration with Google. We are grateful to Google for their support for this initiative, which is aimed at empowering Nigerians' brightest AI startups to turn their innovative ideas into reality. The 100 million Naira fund, developed in collaboration between our National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics and Google, represents a commitment to nurturing the next generation of AI-driven solutions in Nigeria.
As AI continues to take off across Africa, it is essential to consider the broader societal impacts, ensuring responsible development and deployment.
I cannot overstate Africa's growing importance in the global technology landscape. The African Union's landmark AI strategy sets the roadmap for African countries to harness AI's potential to achieve developmental aspirations in education, health, agriculture, infrastructure, peace, and security and good governance. Guidelines must be established for the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and deployment of AI technologies that advance our shared values and promote fairness, transparency, and accountability.
I think all of us know how high the stakes are right now. Only 12% of the world's sustainable development goals are on track. And researchers think up to 80% of those goals could be accelerated through artificial intelligence. This is an inflection point. 100 years ago, Thomas Edison said electricity was the field of fields that's going to reorganize the life of the world. In many ways, AI will play that role in the next century, and it's our job to help shape that future. There's tremendous optimism around AI, seeing the opportunities. Nigeria is exactly the right place to talk about that optimism and opportunity and how to harness it. Lagos is certainly an epicenter of it as well.
Global and multilateral collaboration. So
The Pan-African Conference is not just about talking tech. It's about building bridges and harmonizing AI governance strategies between the US and Africa. This panel session seeks to address those important goals.
In applying these neural networks to use cases, how do we make sure that bias is minimized? And really, it's an infrastructure issue because a lot of the developed countries have the infrastructure, the GPU capacity, and they are being trained on data that is being harvested in those clients. So how do we make sure that we are also in the conversation in the developing world, making sure that these use cases are delivering on the unique or solving the unique challenges of the developing world?
Investing in the technical basis for solid governance. We have to have governance that is scientifically sound, technically feasible, and actually useful for the professionals in individual organizations, in companies, in academia who will be applying these governance frameworks to their work. If it's not useful for them, then we're not actually achieving our goals, and it has to be feasible for them as well. I think when we look at the executive order, a theme that we could pull out in terms of the challenges and how we're addressing them is an emphasis on examining where our existing authorities as the US government might already apply towards the novel questions that AI adoption is posing. So, the executive order has asked all of the departments and agencies within the US government to examine how their authorities apply to AI use cases. For example, if we're trying to ensure safety in healthcare and in the health industry, how do our existing authorities apply in that case? Are they sufficient to address the challenges posed by AI? Do we need something else?
we can't do alone as government or as private sector. And so to prevent or get ahead of this, crisis of legitimacy, so to speak, around AI governance, I think private sector can really start by doing two things. And then there are many other things that we can consider. One of them is around self-governance or self-regulation. The EU has published the AI Act. That's the first and only global resource that sort of gives companies guidance around how to manage, AI implementation within the organizations. It talks about the value-based implementation, talks about strategy implementation. It's the first of its kind, right? And I think private sector can really take some of those kinds of resources and start to work with them. Basically, be the testing ground for what AI governance would look like, what the self-regulation would look like. Regulation without some kind of consequence management, some kind of incentives would not really work. And so testing it within private sector would be, pretty useful efforts to start now.
Like rely on AI.
With a strong focus on ensuring that technologies, especially artificial intelligence, are inclusive and transparent, the conference's energy appears optimistic, as it's about setting the stage for Africa to harness the power of AI in a way that drives innovation and ensures a better future for everyone.
To the basics. Did you know Google's first tweet was in binary? Google's first tweet was in 2009 and it was gibberish to most. Posted on February the 25th, 2009, the tweet read exactly as follows. When translated from binary to English, it reads, "I'm feeling lucky." To a regular human, Google's first ever tweet on Twitter makes no sense, but to a computer programmer or someone familiar with binary code, it made perfect sense. The tweet was a playful nod to Google's iconic "I'm feeling lucky" search button and demonstrated the company's tech-savvy, code-centric humor. Tech trivia. How much do you really know about the tech world? Put your knowledge to the test with these trivia questions. What wireless telecom company is a wholly owned subsidiary of AT&T and shares its name with the insects in the Grillidae family? Kenyan cell, cricket, leg, orthopetra? And the answer is cricket. Think was the company motto for more than 40 years for the company often referred to as Big Blue. What is this frequently acronymed company? Adobe, Oracle, IBM, Cisco. You guessed it, the answer is IBM. Typically considered the successor to dial-up internet access in many American homes, what is the B term for wide bandwidth data transmission, which was able to transport multiple signals and traffic types? This replacement technology allowed for always-on and faster internet. Is it narrowband, wideband, data transmission, or broadband? Broadband. What delicious computer term did web browser programmer Lou Montulli coin to refer to information that is sent from the browser to the web server? RAM, cookie, bug, or code? The answer is cookie.
While Africa missed out on the first three industrial revolutions, the continent now stands at a crossroads with the fourth industrial revolution in full swing. Artificial intelligence, which is a key feature of the fourth IR, is also a buzzword that has dominated recent discussions. In my conversation with Mayowa Ijisheson, an advisory board member of Insight Factory, which is an AI and data analytics startup, we will be focusing on the future of AI in Africa. Thank you so much, Mayowa Ijisheson, advisory board member at Insight Factory. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech Trends.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now let's kickstart this conversation, with the fourth industrial revolution. The key features of the fourth IR, are digitization, AI, that's artificial intelligence, robotics, cloud computing, just to mention a few. And the implications of, these features on education, employment, and even the future of work, they're quite significant. Now, Africa missed out on the first, the second, and the third. And now that the fourth industrial revolution is underway, the big question is, do we have the right skills and policies in place to leap ahead?
No, I don't think we have at this time. I think there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that we don't miss out on this revolution. But I think that we do have the capacity. We've demonstrated skills in tech already. Even in areas like fintech, we've made a lot of progress and all, but there's still a huge gap. But that gap can be closed if we realize the importance from the benefit of hindsight, seeing what missing out on the Industrial Revolution cost us. With that benefit, we can determine to gain momentum in making sure we close the gaps as much as possible. So we can actually benefit from this artificial intelligence revolution, because it's not going anywhere. It's the way of the future.
Yeah, you're correct. Now, one of those key features, which has been a buzzword, a hot topic lately, is artificial intelligence. So let's, focus a little bit on that right now. What are the potential ethical implications of, deploying AI solutions in Africa, and what opportunities, do they offer?
Yeah, some of the ethical issues may involve the bias that's built into the way AI models are trained today. It's based on historical data, and as we should know, there's a lot of bias against underrepresented groups, minority groups on the developed countries in our history. And that bias is fed into AI models, which are the backbones of artificial intelligence applications. So some ethical considerations that we have to have is how to mitigate against those biases, how to build guardrails in there so that even though it's in the historical data, the way the AI responds could be, boundaries can be put around there to make sure that it's not ethically working against the underrepresented groups until we can get our own data in there sufficient enough to not redefine history, but at least correct for mistakes made in history as we go into the future.
Okay, bias, discrimination in AI algorithms, there have been so many concerns about that. So is there really a way to address these issues? Because as individuals, we all have our own, biases. We have, for instance, we are all in Nigeria, we have different ethnic groups. We have our own individual preferences. Is there really a way to make AI solutions free from biases?
Well, I think we could take the approach some other countries are taking, in the sense that government is actually getting involved in developing AI strategy for the country. In the US, for example, in 2017, there was an artificial intelligence strategy that government had a part in putting in place. And that would make sure that the AI solutions and AI applications take some of these things into consideration. Europe has done a good job of being very conscious of ethical considerations in the types of AI applications that will be developed. So I think some of these biases can be mitigated by the influence of government in making policies about how AI applications will be developed and how they'll be rolled out. Another thing that I think is very important is the data that AI is being trained on. We need to get more data that takes into consideration our definition of intelligence, because artificial intelligence really means getting computers to think like human beings.
That's correct.
But intelligence can be defined in different ways. Intelligent people it's not just only people that think in English that are intelligent.
Right.
You can think in Hausa intelligently.
Of
You
course.
can think in Igbo, you can think in Yoruba intelligently. But bias means that I can see someone speaking another language and say, oh, they're probably not as intelligent as I am. If I, as a human being, can think like that, and I am the human being that is creating artificial intelligence solutions, guess what? My bias can go into the kind of applications I'm making. So what do we need to do? We need to factor in intelligence that represents us as a country, and even Africa as a continent. into artificial intelligence.
Well, how do we get such intelligence? Because I was actually going to take the conversation, a little bit back to what you said about a national AI strategy. Because the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, sometime in May, put together a group, to develop, the NAIS. But are those really enough to guide us through, challenges and even opportunities when it comes to AI adoption?
Well, I can't say if they're going to be enough or not. It depends on how effective they are. But I think that we need an all hands on deck approach to this, where government is involved, university and educational institutions are involved, where businesses are involved. So private sector, public sector, academia, we need all hands on deck. Right, because there's still a lot of research and development that needs to happen that maybe can even be funded by the private sector.
We really need to talk about, the data quality and representativeness. We have so many AI startups in Nigeria, and they will come and say, oh, we have foreign companies, that we could, draw data from, and, people contribute data to these companies, after they read your terms and conditions and what you want to use this data for. But how can we ensure that, the data that we're using to develop AI solutions for Africa, is both high quality and representative?
Okay, I think that we may need to just go back to some of the fundamentals of the importance of data collection in the first place, right? We may need to reverse engineer this process, because I don't think we've put enough emphasis on the importance of data gathering and making sure that even in the collection process, the data is pure, right? In addition to that, there are ways to clean data. It's always better to have the data clean in gathering, in how you gather it. But if the ship has sailed out of that port, then we need to look into cleansing data, filling in gaps, right? In some cases, maybe through mathematical modeling, we can fill in some of the gaps, even in data. But it means that we need more skill sets, more advanced skill sets in that area. Data cleansing, data gathering, data collection, identifying gaps in our data, and determining how we're going to fill in those gaps. Maybe go back and collect some data. I think we just don't understand that data is gold in this economy. Data is your gold, because it adds up. By the time you're looking at this at the national level, it adds up. So that education about the importance of data for what we're doing currently and for our future needs to be drummed into us. What we gather now is what's going to help us navigate the future. The intelligence that we mine from what we gather now is the intelligence we're going to be able to rely on in the future.
Let me, tweak this conversation a bit and quickly. You are a business intelligence consultant. Apart from you being an advisory board member, you are also the founder of Divintel, in Silicon Valley. Now, that's a woman, in Silicon Valley. We've had so many conversations about the low numbers of women in tech. How was that for you?
It wasn't particularly easy. It's always good to have other people like you in the room. It's never comfortable. Sometimes even you are not conscious of what you are uncomfortable about. You just know that casual conversations come a little bit, they're not as easy. Casually hanging out with people, and it's not as easy. And it didn't help that I love being Black, but being a Black female added to the complexity. Right. So I think I had to focus on getting what I needed to get done, and not get too distracted by that. But what I've tried to do with my life is pay back, or pay it forward, not pay back, but pay it forward. Like any help I've received, any insight that has helped me in my career, I've tried to pay it forward by helping upcoming people to know that, you can overcome barriers. It may be uncomfortable, it may be a little bit more difficult than somebody who has good representation in whatever field you are trying to get into, but you need to be resilient. need to keep going. Don't quit because people may have biases against you even.
That's really inspiring, and I'm pretty sure young girls can learn from that, because hopefully, I really do hope that, one day the number of conversations that we have about breaking stereotypes, especially for women in tech, is reduced to the bare minimum. Thank you so much, Mayowa Ijisesto, Advisory Board Member, Insight Factory. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech
Thank you for having me. I had an amazing time. Thank you.
Me too. That's a wrap on the show this week. Thank you for watching. Just as always, we will continue to show you how startups, big techs, and of course, inventful thinkers are crafting homegrown solutions using technology in the country. And if you missed any parts of the show, you can always catch up on the Channels TV YouTube accounts where we have all of our episodes. And as always, I encourage you to watch, share, and like your favorite editions. For Tech Trends, I'm Olayemi Otunuga. See you next time.